You know how some apps just feel perfect, whether you're on an iPhone or an Android? Well, ever wonder how they pull that off? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the tech that makes it all happen. This is your 5-minute explainer on React Native. So, before we can even get to the solution, we got to talk about the problem. And believe me, in the world of mobile app development, it's a big one. People call it the two-app problem. All right, picture this. You have a brilliant idea for a new app. You want everyone to use it, right? Doesn't matter if they have an iPhone or a Samsung, you want them on board. But how do you actually do that? To really get the scale of this, think of it this way. Building for both platforms is like writing a fantastic book and then having to meticulously translate the whole thing word for word into a completely different language. You're basically doing all the hard work twice. Think about what that really means. For iOS, you need a team that speaks Swift or Objective-C. For Android, you need a totally different team that knows Kotlin or Java. So that's two separate code bases, two separate teams, and yep, often double the cost and double the time. It's a massive hurdle for pretty much any project. But what if you could write that book just once, in a language that both platforms could understand perfectly, right out of the box? Well, that's exactly the promise of React Native. So, what is it really? Simply put, React Native is an open-source framework that lets developers build apps for both Android and iOS, all from one single codebase. It's the elegant, powerful answer to that two-app problem. And this isn't some new, untested idea. It was actually developed and released by Facebook, now Meta, all the way back in 2015. It's got a solid history with a tech giant behind it. Now, for any web developers out there, this should look super familiar. See, React Native is built on the exact same core ideas as React, the super popular web library. It uses JavaScript and concepts like components, which are like reusable building blocks for your screen, props, which is how you pass data into those blocks, and state, which handles all the data that changes over time. Because it uses these common web technologies, the pool of developers who can jump in and be productive is just huge. Okay, so it solves a massive problem, we get that. But what are the specific benefits that make it so powerful? Let's break down the core advantages. This right here, this is the headline. It's the #1 reason teens choose React Native. You write your app's code one time, and it just works on both mobile platforms. This absolutely slashes development time and, of course, the cost. Now, this is a really key distinction. Some other frameworks out there basically just package up a website into an app. React Native does not do that. It uses real, honest-to-goodness native user interface components. So a button looks and feels like a real iOS button on an iPhone and a real Android button on an Android. It just feels right. Okay, but what about speed? Is it laggy? Nope. Because it uses those native building blocks, the performance is incredibly close to an app built from scratch for that specific phone. For the vast majority of apps you use every day, the performance is more than enough for a super smooth experience. And you're not locked in a box either. If you need to do something super complex that needs a special feature on just one platform, you can still write a little bit of native code for just that part. Add to that a massive community you can turn to for help, and it's huge industry adoption, and you've got a really mature, reliable framework. And speaking of industry adoption, this isn't just for small side projects. Some of the biggest apps you probably use every single day are built with this exact technology. That's right. Companies like Meta, Instagram, Shopify, they all rely on React Native for their mobile apps. When you're scrolling through your Instagram feed or managing your Shopify store, you're interacting with this framework. That is some serious proof in the pudding. So after all that, seeing the problem it solves, how it works, and who's using it, the big question is it the right choice for your project? You know, this quote just nails it. If you're looking to get an app out the door quickly for both major platforms, and you don't want to sacrifice that high-quality native feel, then React Native is an unbelievably powerful choice. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a thought. Think about your own project, your business, or maybe that great app idea you've been kicking around. How could using a single codebase accelerate that vision? Because by solving that two-app problem, React Native doesn't just make development easier, it makes bringing big ideas to life faster than ever before.